We put Platform for Recovery together not long after I joined Arita, and because it struck me that while we'd worked really hard historically on being a part of policy reform, there'd never been a holistic approach to saying this is what we want to get out of reform over the longer term. And so it did start with even the principles of insolvency and what we wanted to achieve. But by creating that roadmap, we actually gave ourselves a whole series of goals that we were going to try and deliver on. We were then incredibly fortunate, and it was a happy accident of history, that only months after we released that, the federal government announced an inquiry for the Productivity Commission into what was called business setup, transfer and closure.
What can we learn from the history of advocacy that you think's been beneficial for peak bodies like Arita?
Well, I think it really does come down to the public good issue. All too often, a lot of member associations, and there is a distinction between member associations and professional bodies, will go in with a self-interest angle. A lot of lobby groups, that's the sole reason they exist. It is about self-interest and trying to get the best for their members or the community that they represent. Ours is a bit different around that. And so we're in the fortunate position now that when we walk in and have a meeting with government, they're not thinking they're trying to get something out of me. That's just for their benefit. They look at us now as more of an independent policy house, a source of expertise. So we will get government phoning us for advice. And so that's where the good role of a balanced and independent advocate has its history, and that's its strength. You know, I think a lot of people who are listening to this podcast now would have the view that a lot of people who advocate to government are there as lobbyists and self-interests, and it's a dark art, and there's not much respect for it. But the role of an advocate for good public policy is where it was originally rooted and where it needs to continue. And if you think about the heavy focus that Arita has, particularly around conduct and good ethical practice, this is one of the best examples of it. So the conduct process, we place very heavy obligations on members around things like independence and how you perform your duties. That actually doesn't give you a competitive business advantage at the most basic level. But what it does is protect the community and it protects the rest of the profession. And that's the very definition of profession. You are meant to give more to it as a professional. You are meant to have a higher public good in mind when you operate. But that doesn't mean to say you don't have to run a business efficiently and effectively, but there is no doubt a tension. And so, yes, we do ask people not to go and take certain appointments because the public would start to question your professionalism at the most basic level. But by doing that, you protect yourself and the rest of the profession as well, because the public can have greater faith and confidence that you are doing the right thing, and that the trust in particular that liquidators are given at a statutory level is warranted. I think Safe Harbour is actually one of our proudest achievements. There'd long been, as you know, a braying for a Chapter 11 style arrangement in Australia. Anybody who wants Chapter 11 doesn't know what Chapter 11 is. It is incredibly complex, incredibly expensive, and rarely delivers great outcomes. Safe Harbour, on the other hand, allows directors to be protected and at the same time forces them to think about where their business is. So while they've still got ownership of their business, they have to bring in somebody like you who challenges them and goes, you're not on a path to solvency here. You've not got a good strategy in place here. This is what you need to do to fix it up. And the price for the protection they get is this reality check. Because if they don't follow that reality check, then they don't get the protection from insolvent trading. So it's a really powerful tool, particularly, as you know, in larger boardrooms, to be able to make those directors think about the strategic direction of their organisation, its operational efficiency and its ultimate profitability, and to confront issues that they might have swept under the carpet up until that point. If we can drive that thinking into the market so that we save more good businesses but allow an efficient exit of the others, we will deliver significant productivity savings for this country. And Arita can and should be the driver of it. But Arita's other big focus, and we've recently got approval for at a federal government level to create a graduate diploma in restructuring, insolvency and turnaround. We set the benchmark for education 20 years ago. We've continued to build on that. We are the organisation that offers the only education pathway to become a liquidator or a bankruptcy trustee. But we're looking into the future to make sure that that level of education, technical and professional competence is higher than ever. And that, I think, is the hallmark of a good professional body into the future.